Also in Cluster 1, we learnt about communication before, during and after meetings. In this topic, we discussed the reasons for holding meetings, the documentation required, as well as the process of communicating documentation. Types of meetings: executive meetings, committee meetings, departmental meetings, team meetings. Each type of these meetings will have their own agenda and discussion points. This will be dependent on the reason for the meeting. There's different reasons why we hold meetings. For information sessions, these are generally team meetings or team briefing sessions where we give each other information about maybe performances or any activities that were dealt with throughout the week. Then consultative meetings where we consult about a particular topic. Solve problems. If there's a problem in the workplace and it needs to be solved, we can all sit together and look for possible solutions, and then make decisions on a particular topic, and then also to negotiate. Meetings should allow for the sharing of information, resolving of problems, making suggestions, and the expression of thoughts and ideas. Documentation required during meetings, also known as source documentation. We look at notice of meeting, which is the notice that is sent out to people, as we'll learn a little bit later. The agenda, minutes of meetings, minutes distribution list, and supporting documentation. Now, supporting documentation could be finance reports, performance reports, presentation media, anything that's addendum to the minutes and/or agenda of the meeting. Now, we already know that the notice of the meeting must be sent out on instruction to do so. This we learnt in Cluster 1. This should be at least 3 weeks and no less than 2 weeks before the meeting should commence. Notices today are general invitation requests sent via email calendar software and/or written email correspondence. Agendas are lists or programs of items that will be discussed during the meeting. When drawing up the agenda, the following needs to be taken into consideration. Minutes of the previous meeting for any unfinished business left over from the previous meeting. This is called matters arising. Propositions received, who wants to add items to the agenda, maybe somebody's got something that they want to discuss, they'll contact you and say, listen, please put this on the agenda as a discussion point for next week's meeting or the week after that meeting, whatever the case may be. Correspondence, which may relate to previous or for the coming meeting, and the actions taken following the previous meeting. Let's take a look at the items that need to be contained on an agenda. The title, date, time, and place of the meeting. The purpose of the meeting. Apologies for absence. Anybody that may have notified that they won't be able to make it needs to be noted on the agenda. Minutes of the previous meeting. Matters arising from the previous meeting. Unfinished business. Other items to be discussed and decided on. And any other business that related information. Allocate times to each topic to ensure that the coordinated events so that everything has a chance to be addressed within the time frame. The format of the agenda is dependent on the organization you work for. They would have their own template for that agenda. However, the content on the agenda remains the same. Agendas should also be short, reliable, clear, and to the point, and they're normally sent out with a notice of meeting. In some cases, receipt of the agenda is a communication of the meeting. A chairman's agenda is the same as the agenda for the meeting. The only difference is that it has added notes and space for the chairperson to write his or her comments. Always keep a copy of the agenda with you when attending the meeting, and or two in case of emergency if someone didn't bring theirs. The minutes are documented recollections of events that transpired during a meeting, discussion points, actions, elections, and or resolutions that need to be taken and who is responsible for the action. In Cluster 2, we discussed various types of writing styles, as well as writing as a whole. When taking minutes of meetings, it's very much like drawing up a picture of events, and then putting them together to form a whole. Taking minutes is an art because a number of skills are involved. Listening, summarizing, paraphrasing, keywords. In today's technological world, some note takers actually use recorders during meetings, which makes it easy to listen back and compile the minutes. Let's take a look at some of the other important factors to document in the minutes. Record important points about the topic. Focus on the main points. Take care to record the exact wording of every motion and amendment. The minutes must be impartial and balanced. Keep notes short. Make a list of everyone present. Connect your minutes with the agenda. Draft minutes as soon as possible. Ask for clarification if you're not sure of something. Go through the minutes with the chairman and write up the minutes in a factual style. Always ensure to record the names and surnames of each person who proposes, who seconds, who has actions to deal with, and who has been elected. Once again, the layout of minutes in meetings in terms of the format will depend from company to company. However, the contents of what the minutes should contain will be no different. Generally, when working with minutes of the same types of meetings, let's say monthly finance meetings, weekly performance meetings, etc., minutes are continuous and numbering should also be consecutive, in other words, follow on. So if I have action items from this week's minutes, next week, so let's say the action items are from 1 to 5, next week's minutes will start from 6 and so forth. When recording any other business section in the minutes as it appears on the agenda, this heading will be used in the minutes. The topic of the business should be used as the heading. So let's assume that a project the team has been dealing with was not the agenda. When the meeting gets to any other business on the agenda and John communicates about the project, this should be recorded as Project 101, blah, 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 whatever John was saying about that project. So if you have the business section or any other business section, then you don't use that heading any other business section. You use the heading of the actual discussion or the actual topic that was being discussed. The meeting has been held, and now you probably have a stack of notes on your notepad. Use a mind map to logically arrange the notes and gather your thoughts. This will help to leave any unwanted information that you may have and/or repetitive information. Minutes are distributed once they've been signed and authorized by the chairperson. They are then considered a binding document which must be adhered to. Now that the minutes are signed, they can be sent to all the parties as per the distribution list, either via email, print copies to send via courier, etc. Make sure that the distribution list is accurate and all members' details are correct. Minutes of meetings must be sent to the relevant parties generally within 24 hours after the meeting to ensure timeliest action is taken on any areas that is responsible to the relevant members. Remember, communication learnt. Always follow up by telephone whether the electronic communication was received. Minutes are very important documents, and just as with any other document, as learnt in Cluster 5, they should be filed using the system filing method, using either dates of the meetings, types of the meeting, or even by date and type of meeting. Remember that a book of minutes is important not only for the organization, but also a legal requirement by the Companies Act to ensure that efficient communication and also to have documented proof in the case of non-conformances and/or disciplinary procedures. And that's a wrap for Cluster 6. Are you already ready for Cluster 7? I'm sure you're enjoying your lessons and the information. Let's take a look at what we've learned. Meetings should be informative, performance-driven, efficient, and achieve the goal. Notice of meeting agendas, minutes of meetings and distribution lists are the source documents applicable to meetings. Taking accurate notes is important to ensure the message is communicated effectively in business. All parties on the distribution list should receive a copy of the compiled minutes. Minutes should be compiled no later than 24 hours after the meeting. The compiled minutes must be authorized by the chairperson before distribution. It is important to ensure sufficient filing and record keeping of the minutes.